I'm here. Are you still there? Sorry. Oh my word. Okay. I think I'm here, and I think there's still 7 of you here. Oh my gosh. Thank you for waiting. Oh, thank goodness I have meditation. That was, of course, frustrating for all of us. I don't know. I'm here, so begin again. Oh my goodness. Okay, so good morning, the folks. Thank you for staying. Thanks, Bria. A big hug. Yes, I'm hugging myself. Thank you, Terry. Just bizarre. There's some glitch with YouTube, and thankfully it hasn't just happened with me, or else I would just say, all right, forget it. But there's yeah, we set it all up, and then we just click the button go live, and it says live stream not available. So then we're supposed to start again, but that didn't work. But we're here. I'm here. So 13 minutes in, so I'm going to shorten the talk a little bit and carry on. So welcome, and I'm so grateful that you showed up. Oh, that's so great to see this, Helena and Terry, about the comment. So yeah, we've had trouble recently on someone else's live stream where, people were trolling and posting abusive comments. So I spent a lot of time yesterday, last night, trying to learn. So I have it really quick access on how to block comments and delete them so that you won't have to see any abusive comments, and the person will be reported and all of that. So I am really aware of how triggering that can be, to even just see cruelty and unskillfulness. So I want you to know that I'm on it, and I'm really have a strong intention to take care of myself and you in this space. So that's good. Yeah, so my intention today was to speak about wise intention that I hadn't talked about last Saturday, and I did the whole talk, and yeah, I hear you, Helena. I've had that experience on Zoom with Zoom bombing, and it's very, very triggering and very difficult experience. So I'm going to be kind of keeping my eye on the chat the whole time. And we could just turn it off so there's no chat, but it's just like these little ways of connecting with each other are so important, feels very important to me. And so if we can keep it safe and keep it happening, that would be ideal. And if we can't, we'll just have to turn chat off completely. So yeah, and so for folks that were on that call, please do reach out to one of us. I'm sure that Daryl would also be available to talk some more about that, and just have a private call with you, or email to support what may have been triggered or activated by that experience. So please reach out. Yeah. Okay. Previously, there had been 4 talks on that I offered here on right effort, wise effort, as part of the path, and it was quite interrelated and often came up around intention as well. So One sec. Mm. And I asked folks what kind of topics you'd like me to share other top practices about, and intention was one of them. So thank you for that suggestion. I'm open to more suggestions of topics for these practice times. So where to start here? I'll start with this. This was shared by a friend of mine, Jeanette, on Facebook yesterday, and I said, "Oh, that's perfect. It totally fits with what I want to talk about." And it's a little quote from Sonya Renee Taylor, who is an author, a poet, spoken word activist, social justice activist. Has written important books. And she or they, I'm not sure their pronoun, said, "We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature." So well said. I just, there's so much in this, and it's really, to not be too quick to want to get back to how things were, because how things were was the death of us and the death of many species, the death of our earth. And as Sonya mentions here about greed and inequity, depletion, extraction, rage, hate, and lack, these are really talking about the three root, sometimes they're called defilements or poisons, kaleshas, of greed, hatred, and delusion. And we have this opportunity to not go back to how things were. So how do we do this? I've been thinking about this for myself. As soon as I get the green light, like, okay, it's all good now, back you go. And I don't really want to jump back into shopping and getting and going and doing and being too busy and not taking time to be outside and not taking time to make good, healthy food that isn't harming the world. That's not. So I've been thinking, reflecting on that personally. And I think this really relates to our intention, and to really wake up to our intention here of how we want to move forward. So why is intention right? Intention is part of the middle path, the Noble Eightfold Path, what the Buddha taught as the way to cultivate, to grow, to be skillful, to awaken, to be free, liberated. And there's three wise intentions. Before I get to those, there's different levels of intention. And the first one is, I also find it very interesting to practice with this, is the intention to, the intentions that happen unconsciously, mostly, before every action, everything we say And actually, there's intentions before thoughts as well, but we won't go there. But that's pretty fascinating, to look at what was the intention of that thought. Um, Here's a little clue. It's usually about creating a self, creating me. This is something I looked at on the 3-month retreat. So really behind every movement, every action we take, there's an intention first, mostly unconscious. One way I like to practice with this is with eating. To just, because it's so habitual and automatic, reflexive, often reactive, and to really watch the intention before my hand moves. Because often I'll just be eating, something's already in the mouth and I'm already digging around in the plate, picking up the next bite. And to put the fork down, be with the experience of eating, and then watch, there's an intention to take another bite. There's an intention to pick up the spoon or fork or whatever. Again, notice the intention, then feel the hand moving, picking up the food, bringing it to the mouth, intention to open the mouth. There's an intention, not to make yourself overly obsessed with this, but for me, it really wakes me up to slowing down and paying attention to this whole experience of just eating. You can also practice this with walking meditation. It really helps us slow down if you're doing walking meditation as your meditation practice, to watch the intention for the foot to pick up. There's an intention to put the foot down, to shift the weight. And also these things can just be happening automatically, or we can practice also noticing the intention. And it's an interesting way to slow us down. And of course, so helpful to others and ourselves to notice the intention before we speak. Wow. Wouldn't that save a lot of, so much if we could notice that. This is a helpful quote. It's from this book, Stepping Out of Self-Deception. Maybe there's too much light on there. There we go. Stepping Out of Self-Deception by Rodney Smith. Great book. It's got a dirty cover from me. And but he says in here, we like the idea of awakening, but we love the experience of indulging. I have an intention, an idea of awakening, being free from suffering, but I also love the experience of indulging and how to work with that place of wanting. And also, let me see, what's behind this wanting? What's really here? Is it because I was bored? Is it because of just greed, desire, pleasure, want more pleasure? Is it anger that I'm trying to suppress? And so this can be related to food. This can be related to binge watching Netflix. This can be related to all the ways we distract ourselves or try to experience our indulging. Indulging is not just with pleasure, but indulging, wanting to get rid of what we don't like and get what we want. And of course, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, like in terms of me wanting to protect and get rid of any abusive comments that might come on the chat. This is a skillful and wise intention. So it's not that every intention is to avoid unpleasantness is unskillful. But when it's reflexive, habitual, reactive, that's what we're trying to not cultivate. See, right now, here's another why in expiration of intention. Right now, I feel a tickling on my right nostril, quite strong, and my hand was already just wanting to go and scratch. Of course, we're paying attention to not touching our face so much. So then I was going to pull my sleeve over my hand and scratch that spot. And then I was like, why? Because it's an unpleasant sensation and I want to get rid of it. So there's just that reflex that comes so quickly, but I could just notice, oh, it's actually just a sensation. Let me practice not being habitual. I could still choose to scratch it, but to know what the intention is. Is it just habit, or am I really being aware, awake? So there's 3 whys intention, and each of them counter. So the first part there, I was talking about just the basic, it's called chaitana, just like the daily life intentions that are behind our actions. But there's also a wise intention that's part of this Eightfold Path. And so these 3 are direct countering or relationship with unwise intention. So the 3 are the wise intention for renunciation, for kindness or goodwill, and for harmlessness. So these counter greed, ill will, and harm. For me, this is related to something I shared on Facebook, which is a teaching of the Buddha that's often taken into another direction when people misquote. And it says this: whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of one's mind. Whatever we frequently think and ponder upon will become the inclination of the mind. So this is often twisted into being, whatever I think about, I'll get. It becomes kind of a new age justification for greed, or for, trying to control our world. If I think about this, I'll get it, or which is not what the Buddha said, of course. But what this comes from is a time that's described here in the teachings where the Buddha sat down. This was before he was fully enlightened, but was practicing in what's called a bodhisattva on the path. And he describes it this way. While I was still an unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into 2 classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, which we would call goodwill or kindness, and thoughts of non-cruelty, which would be harmlessness or compassion. So those are the 3 right efforts right there that I just mentioned before: renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. This is really interesting. Like the Siddhartha Gautama sat down in his practice and noticed these 2 kind of different categories of thoughts, and noticed that this one group of thoughts that are characterized by greed, by ill will, by harm, would cause harm for himself and cause harm for others, and obstruct wisdom and lead away from liberation. And the other thoughts of renunciation, goodwill, non-harm, are he understood those to be beneficial and conducive to the growth of wisdom. So beneficial for me, beneficial for others, cultivates more wisdom, and leads towards freedom. And noticing these two groupings of thought, then really deciding what do we want to cultivate. And so for this, you can see how this relates back into the four right efforts, wise efforts we talked about before. When something is unskillful, what do I do with that? How do I work with that? When something is wholesome, skillful, onward leading, what do I do with that? How do I work with it? Keep it growing, cultivate it, maintain it. So you can see the relationship of wise effort and wise intention here. All right. I know we lost 15 minutes at the beginning, so I'm shortening my talk a bit here. Let me just see what else I really want to put in here. There's so much. Okay. Wise intention is not from willing. It's not like, it's not from suppression. It's not from being willful with ourselves. It doesn't work that way, right? We can't force, this can't be forced. What the Buddha discerned was that it's by really paying attention that these things get liberated. If we take a really mundane example, there's something I want. So first, there's just seeing something. And is something pleasant or something that catches the eye and has some connection around desire and wanting it. And immediately the mind states come and start, oh, you should have that, and why not, and you deserve it, and whatever, all the justifications of to help me get what I want. And so I might notice that as like, this isn't helpful, but the mind states keep going. And if I just try to suppress them, push them away, it really doesn't work for me anyways. What really liberates it is by really looking closely, really investigate with keen attention, to see deeply what's really going on. And in that way, the renunciation happens. I noticed this on the 3-month retreat. I was really trying to work with desire and notice what is such a strong feeling, wanting or not wanting. They're very strong emotional, mental states, sensations. And this particular one, another very mundane one, was just about bread. They were making this home-baked bread. And this one, I was trying to not eat bread because it's not good for how my body feels. But it was vanilla cardamom home-baked bread on the retreat. And I really wanted to have it. So I went into the dining room and just watched other people having it and feeling the joy of watching them enjoy it. And that helped a lot because I could just feel the pleasure and the joy of watching other folks enjoy it. It was quite nice, but it was still there a little bit. I was still wanting it. And so I was like, okay, where is this in the body? What's the sensation here? Where is this desire? Because in the head, it was I could work through it, not being something that would be helpful for me, but I still wanting was still there. Oh, where is that? I was just went into some meditation just to feel in the body, where is this sensation that's pushing this thought? I couldn't really find it. I couldn't feel something in the gut or clenching. And then there was just this little sensation right in this muscle here in the trapezius. And it was just a little contraction there, which was the contraction of this. Oh, let's get it. That muscle was contracting in order to pick up the arm to get. And as soon as I felt that sensation, it was gone. And that was very powerful for me. It was really liberating, and not just for that example, but then that reinforces, okay, this is something I could really practice. And the same goes with aversion. The same goes with ill will. The same goes with wishing harm. Okay. Oh, so much more. But so we have to consciously establish our intention to do the opposite of our habitual responses. If we know our habit is to react and say something harsh, if we know our habit is to reach for something to suppress, if we know our habits, are to share something that we know is going to feed more ill will in the world, we can really work skillfully to set a different intention, and it will help. It will start to shift. I'll just mention this. I hope we get to some practice. I know I want to practice, but there's good stuff here to share. I hope it's interesting for you. So those two of the wise intentions, the goodwill and harmlessness, they're opposite of the intention for harm and the intention for ill will. They're likened to picking up a hot coal to throw at somebody. Isn't there so much of that happening right now? There's a lot of hot coals being thrown around. But when we do that, we are picking up the hot coal. So we're burning ourselves in order to hurt someone else, in order to seed discontent, in order to seed more separation or judgment. And so it's to really look closely at that and see how it's harming me and harming others. And those two, ill will and harm, those are considered to be more dangerous because they cause more harm, but they're in some ways easier to uproot because they are so painful internally and externally. Whereas the desire, which its opposite is renunciation, letting go, is less dangerous, maybe causes less harm than direct ill will, but it's harder to uproot. Of course, it's harder to uproot because it's pleasant. Desire is the root of this. And so this is harder to let go of, harder to uproot because it's pleasant. So that might be interesting for you. All right. Last thing I'll say about intention. It touches into a whole nother topic, which we can't get into right now, but it relates to karma, which is actually kama, K-A-M-M-A in Pali. Karma is a Sanskrit, and that these teachings were first written down in Pali. So kama, or karma, as we're more familiar with that word, The Buddha actually said that it is intention that I call karma. Intention is karma. This is another thing that gets really confused, thinking that karma is the outcome. Oh, you've got bad karma, you've got good karma. And it's really, it can be used all kinds of distorted ways. Intention is karma. So this is an important place for us to practice. What's our intention? Is there an intention for renunciation, non-ill will, non-harm? This is the karma. We can't control what the outcome is going to be. But of course, there's a relationship. This doesn't mean that the outcome, that we can just say, oh, well, my intention was good. I can't help what you did with that, or I can't help what happened. I can't help that that was still hurtful to you. That wasn't my intention. So it doesn't mean that. It does mean, okay, let's look at our intention. And then if the outcome is still harmful, hurtful to others, we can still include that in our awareness and our practice. Like, that wasn't my intention, but I see that that was painful and hurtful. And I have an intention to not do that again. I have an intention to share kindness with you. I have an intention to try to make amends, to ask for forgiveness. You see, so there's still a relationship with the outcome. Okay, I hope that wasn't too scattered with a lot of bits. Let's have a practice. Let's settle into this for a few minutes here. I will keep my eyes on the chat, so you can please relax your eyes and you can relax into your body as it is showing for you now. You can lay down. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you. You could stand, you could walk. Take a few sighing breaths if you need that, and start to let go of any tension that's showing up strongly for you that maybe isn't needed right now. There may be some contraction from the conversation we had at the beginning and whatever else is showing up for you. So just see if you can let some of that settle here. A renunciation of that. Let that go for now. Let that go. And as you're settling into your posture, this is some more words from Rodney Smith from this book, Stepping Out of Self-Deception. Just rest your eyes, open your heart, and listen to this short words. Intention remains hidden within the secret chambers of the heart, moving us forward, often against our will. It brings the struggles and conflicts of life forward so they can be digested and resolved, and holds us on course with our deepest longing. So as you're settling into your body here, into the present moment, really feel into here your deepest longing. Your deepest longing. Is there a longing here for safety, for peace, for freedom, liberation, loving kindness, letting go, harmlessness? Just feel into here your intentions, your deepest heart's intention. Is there a place in the body where that intention really lands or rests or resonates for you? Just let yourself really set that intention. This is my deepest heart's intention, and I wish this to come to the fore to guide me. Feel if that lands in a place for you in the body, this intention. Some might like to place a hand if it feels like, if that's in your belly or in your heart, or if wherever that is for you in your hands, you might like to touch that place. And as we rest here with our deepest heart's intention, at some point we may notice some subtle or not subtle arising of desire or aversion. And then we can just allow attention to remain with that experience rather than the object. So if we feel a desire to move or scratch or get something, we could just stay with attention, staying just with that bare experience. What's that feel like? Rather than the object itself of what you're wanting to get rid of or wanting to get. And then if that sensation of desire or aversion passes, just rest again with this deep heart intention and cultivate that. Allow it to be known. Allow it to grow. This is part of our wise effort. And if it resonates for you, you could just stay with feeling the body and these intention, attention, and intention. Or you could use phrases. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. These are intentions of goodwill and harmlessness. May I be content. And it may also be possible to notice the content of thoughts when our mind moves away and gets caught in thinking. Are the thoughts propelled and fueled by ill will or desire? Not to judge that, but to see how does that feel in the body? Keen attention. And if this subsides, then just rest again with your deep heart intention. Renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. May my intention for renunciation grow. May my intention for kindness and goodwill grow. May my intention for harmlessness grow. May all beings everywhere be safe and free from harm. May all beings everywhere know true freedom. So we have a few minutes here as you're ending your practice. I'm sure it was a short practice today because of the glitches at the beginning. But there are a few minutes here if you have any questions about intention or any other challenges that are showing up for you, any other topics you would like explored, almost scratched. And also, hello, sweetheart. Also, I will write Sonya Renee Taylor's quote that was so, thank you. Thanks, Patty. So I'll read this quote again and then I'll write it down in the description down below. So down below, if you click more, you'll be able to see there's a link to offer support to True North Insight. And of course, all of our retreats are canceled. And there are some online retreats. I believe there's one happening this weekend with Roxanne in French. I think check the True North Insight website and page. Thank you, Supriya. And also down below, there's a link to support me if you are able to. Please follow True North Insight or River Sound Retreat on Facebook if you're on Facebook. For folks like that were on that other call where the chat became unsafe or painful, you can email me. Tonight and tomorrow is Roxanne's first True North Insight online retreat in French. So that will be wonderful, wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. I don't speak French, but I really wish I did. So I'm going to just say this quote again from Sonya Renee Taylor. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. So beautiful, so important. And I believe it begins with intention, right intention, wise intention. Thank you, Terry. So please, you can send me a message through my website, or if you're not on Facebook, so Jill at riversoundretreat.com, or just go to riversoundretreat.com or True North Insight to send a message to one of the teachers if you need some support from what happened on Friday. If you were part of that call, please reach out just to have a little more process with that. It might be helpful. All right. You're welcome, Helena. Okay, any other questions or thoughts? I will be back Wednesday night. Is it 7:30 till 8:30, I think? Yes. And I don't know what I'm talking about then, but we'll see. There were some suggestions from other folks, so I might do one of those. All right. So thank you for your intention to show up here. It means a lot. And for hanging in there until I got back online. And your intention to continue growing renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. Every one of us matters. Every one of our intentions and actions matter. Thank you.